What's up everybody, welcome to another ProGuides video. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 champions that you can play that everybody loves having on their team. Hi, I'm single, but you can call me Nathan. And for Valentine's Day, if you guys have anybody that's kind of into ProGuide hosts that are Asian American, I might know a guy. Send them my way on my Instagram at Nathan_ing. For our question of the day, which champion, when you have on your team, do you think is the most beneficial? For me, it's going to be ORIANNA. He is incredibly tanky, has great initiation, and you can get your team free golden items. Now with that all being said, let's hop right into the video.
So, before we get started, are you getting ganked in your own lane, constantly demolished? Don't worry, we've got you covered. ProGuides is the #1 proven way to quickly help you level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you're looking for tier list champion guides, coaching, and courses from our favorite pro players, ProGuides is where you'll find them. Even players like Nightblue, Bunny Fufu, Locodoco, and Doublelift support ProGuides. So what are you waiting for? Click the link and start improving right now. And with all that being said, let's get started. First on the list is SHEN. How many times have you guys been bailed out of a sticky situation by Clutch Stand United? I hope the answer isn't zero because I've honestly felt like I've had so many games won off by a single SHEN ultimate. One of the biggest issues with solo queue is that there's always fights going on everywhere. Whenever someone was never there for me when I needed them the most, SHEN was. And you can always count on him when a fight breaks out. With a single button, he can always join his teammates, so they're never really down a man, unless they're down 2 or more of course. I mean, he's only one guy, unfortunately. SHEN's entire kit is basically built around supporting his teammates. Aside from his iconic ultimate, he has a linear taunt as well as a W, which allows him and his teammates to avoid basic attack damage. This guy comes in clutch when it matters the most, and that's why we love it when he's on our team. Next up is ORIANNA. He's a reliable tank who brings a lot to the table. Whenever someone locks in ORIANNA, you have the pleasure of knowing that you're going to get your items upgraded later on into the game. Based off of what items he crafts for you, you're basically gaining around 1000 gold worth of stats for free. ORIANNA has everything you'd want from a team player. He brings hard engage, a reliable low economy playstyle, and a pretty solid laning phase to top it all off. While a lot of tanks can't hold their own against a more aggressive top lane, ORIANNA stands out from the other tanks because he deals sizable amounts of damage. You can rest assured that he's probably the least likely to start inting his lane since he actually has the tools he needs to fight. Makes sense since he's a master craftsman after all. You know what I like to see in a jungler? Ganks, and a lot of them, though I never really see them in my solo queue games. Zac is one of those junglers that when he's locked in, you know that you'll get a lot of ganks over and over again. The long range on his E makes him a very great candidate too, since he could catch nearly anyone by surprise from an odd angle. As a tank jungler, he also tends to be more of a setup type player, trying to make sure that his teammates can succeed. It's also a great relief that your team has a go button. Zac jumping into the enemy team is a pretty big signal that you and your teammates are going to fight. Like I just said, hopefully you guys had better luck than me because I don't get that many ganks. I do, however, hold many fond memories of a wonderful green blob helping his pal out. Another thing about him is that he's strong, like he's really strong. We're always down to have a guy like him on our team. Even when he's a little bit weaker, there's never a time where it's the worst possible thing that could ever happen if your jungler locks in Zac. Luckily though, he's in a decent spot at the moment because Trundle isn't that popular. Speaking of junglers though, IVERN is another jungler that doesn't really spend too much time farming. Though personally, he kind of makes me uncomfortable because he's like 90% legs. You know that he's the kind of champion that is always going to be on patrol to help out his team. Since his playstyle revolves around him setting up camps to take later, he has a lot of downtime, where he instead looks for ganks or hovers around his allies that may need assistance. Players that love playing squishier champions especially love the extra utility IVERN provides. Not only does he have his natural shield, IVERN also tends to build a lot of support items like Redemption, Athens, and sometimes even an Ardent Sensor. I don't know about you, but if I'm playing a hard carry, I'm always happy to have another support to rely on. IVERN provides a decent amount of peel and utility with his Q and R as well. Overall, he's pretty well rounded and a great IVERN player can make games flow so smoothly. If you're a Rengar top player, I'd also suggest you look for an IVERN jungle soulmate. You'd be a match made in heaven. A champion that might not be loved overall is MALZAHAR. Players tend to hate playing him and playing against him, but when he's on your team, it's a different story altogether. MALZAHAR brings everything you'd want from a teammate, but not necessarily what you want if you're playing mid lane. His R is probably the least interactive thing in the game. You press it and whoever you clicked on is usually gonna die. In terms of playstyle, MALZAHAR works to set up his teammates. If you're looking for great friends, look for somebody that's kind of like MALZAHAR because you know that he'll always set you up for success. Even if it's ulting his own lane opponent, it's usually to support his jungler or side laner that's roaming so that they can score a free takedown together. Also, if you think about how he lanes, it really does benefit his teammates heavily. All Malzahar does is push and roam. This creates pressure for his jungler and also his side laners. If he's ever in the fog of war, the enemy team needs to think about where he is. The enemy jungler that wants to farm Scuttle is probably going to have to do it 1v2. Most players that understand lane priority will choose to concede, but a lot of players will, as the cool kids say, YOLO it, meeting their adversary at the crab and getting mad at their own mid laner when the enemy Malzahar was there to help their jungler. It's a win-win situation really. At a higher level of play, I really like seeing Malzahar players work with their jungler. After pushing in their lane, they walk together to his side lane and either gank or dive. It feels really easy to win with one of them on the team. You know, every champion gets a little bit of hate, but I think I've only seen one person over my entire lifetime of League of Legends that hated playing against Orianna. Probably because they played Annie and got outranged, but a lot of champions outrange Annie, so I don't really know what that guy was worried about. There have been cries about so many other mid laners being OP, but Orianna has been one of the champions that have felt the most balance out of all of them. While I am hesitant to say whether or not she's the most quote-unquote loved champion, I think she's a candidate for the least hated. Having one on your team is pretty nice though, as she covers all the bases that you would want in a mid laner. Good wave clear, some crowd control, and enough damage for sure. In team fights, Orianna provides a lot of pressure and utility. She always has that power to turn team fights in her team's favor with a sick ultimate. Players definitely enjoy the safety net, or at least the illusion of one, when they have an Orianna on their team. In terms of marksman, the first one that comes to mind is Ashe. Part of it is due to the fact that she's the very champion that you play in the tutorial. Otherwise, it's probably because of her E and ultimate. Every player likes it when their teammates bring some utility to the field, probably because they just want to do damage and carry their teammates. It's never a bad thing to have an Ashe on your team because she provides a hard engage and can also scout out the fog of war. Both of these come in clutch. When it's too dangerous to walk into the enemy jungle and she hawkshots a brush to find enemies waiting in their trap, or when she manages to land an insane snipe to win the game, Ashe is a champion beloved by us all. Even for the type of people that complain about their marksman not doing enough damage, Ashe definitely doesn't fall into this. Ashe's damage is pretty solid, so she's got everything she needs to shut up all the haters. Up next is another press R champion in SIVIR. Well, I mean, that's what she really is. She presses R and that means, hey, let's go. Everyone appreciates some bonus movement speed and it makes maneuvering much easier, whether you're trying to get in or out. In a way, SIVIR is really similar to MALZAHAR because their game plan is pretty much the same. Push a lot, try to hit 6, and make plays to win the game. Even though SIVIR is pretty weak champion at the moment, it's really easy to justify it in your own mind when you see one on your own team. I know that personally, I just think to myself, well, she presses R and at least it'll be easier for me to carry fights. When she's strong, this is a little bit oppressive and I know that everyone loves to have her on their team. A champion that can win lane and at the same time enable their teammates to carry is definitely one that takes a W in everyone's books. You know when you're about to die and then your screen suddenly has a little white tint to it? I hope you do because that's when ZILEAN's ult saves you. It's definitely a time to let out a huge sigh of relief. Especially when you play someone squishy and you know you're gonna get blown up by someone on the enemy team, ZILEAN is a saving grace to have on your team. His ultimate is literally a lifesaver and it's not something that we should take for granted. I know a ton of various champions also benefit from his E instead. Champions like Rammus, Hecarim, and Quinn love to have that enormous speed buff to help them run over whoever they're chasing. Also, who doesn't like the random level ups he provides when he's there? I feel like I get a little rush of dopamine every time I see him leveling me up or when people follow me on Instagram at Nathan_ing. Another pick that we love having on our team is Soraka. I definitely cannot say that I enjoy playing against her, especially since she's meta top lane right now. However, regardless of whether she's a top laner or a support right now, I think that we can all agree that we love having her on our team. She provides so much healing and soaks up so much pressure in fights later on into the game. League's mobile ambulance makes sure that if one of her teammates is going to die, it's not going to be easy by any means. The silence is definitely a nice touch too, as Soraka can also act to peel off enemy champions who rely on channels, or choose clutch moments to silence an enemy. Whenever I hear someone on my team choosing Sona, I know that it's going to be music to my ears. While laning with her can be a struggle at times, it often pays off by the end of the game. No matter who you're playing, Sona helps you do it better. She provides healing, some extra damage, and a lot of movement speed. She's the goddess of auras, and you will get every bonus you could possibly hope from her. I know a lot of players are iffy about her, which is why we decided to give her a shout out instead of labeling her as one of our top 10 picks. Sona's a champion that gets to buff up any or even all of her teammates at once. Who doesn't appreciate that? On top of that, she has her amazing ultimate, which can honestly create some highlight reel plays once in a while.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed our content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check out our website, ProGuides.com, for all your league needs. If you guys like me, please tell me. in the comments below. I need the support. Again, my name is Nathan Ng, and if you guys want to play some League of Legends with me, make sure you add me on N8DGR8. I also noticed that there's been some trouble with the client and people adding me, and people have told me this through my Instagram at Nathan_ING. So once they fix that client, I'll be sure to get some games in with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll make sure to see you guys on the Rift as soon as Riot fixes their client and in the comment section down below.